Beautiful day out there. Good to be back in full pads. I thought the players worked well today. Having the extra day on Sunday, I think, it did us a lot of good in terms of coming out here and being able to execute a little bit better than a normal Tuesday when you're putting it in for the first time. Chris Fonte rolled his ankle. I think he'll be okay for the game, but I'll know a little bit more about that later on when I get upstairs. Questions?
In terms of that general depth-wise, you're pretty good right at offensive line, and
I think so. You know, Andre Civil's coming back for us. That gives us another guy, so that makes us a little bit deeper up front. Certainly with PJ not being available to us, but the rest of the running backs are healthy. The fullbacks seem to be pretty healthy. So I think across the board we're probably in the best shape we've been in a little bit.
You often set some number goals. With PJ out, what's the number you'd like to hit in the running game in terms of production? It doesn't have to be exact, but are you looking for a certain?
I think, you know, when you run the ball, if you get over 150 yards in the run game, you got a pretty good chances of winning. Statistically here, over 175, we don't lose very often. So those are probably the two benchmarks that are the most telling.
Is that reasonable to expect that kind of production without PJ there?
I don't know that. I mean, I certainly expect it. I expect us to be able to run the ball, and I expect us to be committed to running the football. Now, the players have to produce. So we've got one guy who's done that for us in the past in Savon, and we've got two guys in Desmond Peoples and Justin Goodwin who are not proven commodities just yet, but have done enough, I think, in practice to earn the right to carry the ball. And now they got to produce in the games, and that's always the unknown. I felt that way about PJ coming into this season, and he certainly earned the right to get more carries and proved he could do it. Now we'll have a couple more guys who get that chance.
Kyle, you mentioned Andre Civil coming back. He started the first game before he got hurt? Has Muller done enough to keep that job? Do you imagine those two will share the load?
Well, right now, Andre's playing tackle for us, and Antoine's playing on the inside. I don't anticipate that changing.
How does some of the young linemen, like a Dorian Miller, how has he kind of progressed, this season?
He's done a good job, and what happens during the season is once you get to the game weeks, it gets harder on those freshmen that are not in your two deep, because now they have to learn a different system every week to give the right looks to the defense. And I think Dorian's done a good job. He was our offensive scout team player of the week, again, our Arkansas game week. So that was exciting for me, because a lot of times the scout quarterback or the scout receiver or the scout running back will get that award. It's not very often that the coaches say that a lineman is worthy of getting that award. That's a unique thing. I thought that was really good for him.
Without Glashan being available, does it change what you want to do in the secondary personnel-wise?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think what they do changes how you might play the game. That they are, with their personnel, it's so receiver-oriented and skill player-oriented that in this type of game you're going to play more defensive backs. So we certainly would have liked to have Garif available to us, but we've got some other younger guys that have done a nice job. Nadir Barnwell is coming on. Ian Thomas is coming on. A guy like Anthony Chaffee, who's playing for us on special teams right now, is taking reps at corner. So I think we've got enough players out there that we can compete with.
Does a guy like T.J. Johnson become a little more valuable this week because he's covered guys as a corner before and obviously can play safety?
I think guys like T.J. Johnson are so valuable to your team every week. I think all your defensive backs, that you have to increase their value in a week like this, because they're going to get a few more snaps maybe than they normally would. But T.J. Johnson does so many things. Those safety bodies and corner bodies that are between 5'10" and 6'1". We've seen it in the past with guys like Marcus Cooper, Logan Ryan, the McCourties, and now with guys like Jeremy Deering and T.J. Johnson. They play safety for you. They play down a little bit in nickel and dime packages. They play on all your special teams. They're so valuable to the team with what the things they do that the fans see and the things they do that really maybe the coaches appreciate a little bit more.
What happens at D-tackle behind Darrell Stevenson this week? Because I know you want to rotate a number of guys in there.
I think we'll probably end up playing 8 guys. On the inside, it'll be a guy like Ike Holmes and Darrell Stevenson, and a guy like Julian Penix on the outside. David Maluski's been a swing guy for us inside and outside all year long. Quanzel Lambert will play on the outside. So I think we've got 8 guys that we'll be able to line up and play with this week.
Kyle, for a team that's 1-3 and doesn't run the ball much, 29 minutes of possession per game really isn't that bad. So what have you seen from them that has allowed them to maintain pretty good ball control?
I think it's the system of offense that they run. The people who run this offense would tell you that the hitches and the flat throws and the screens, that's their running game. The high percentage passes, they're completing those passes at over a 90% ratio. So when you throw a pass in the flat and it goes for 5 yards, that's their version of a running play. And I think that's always how the coaches that work in the run should have felt.
Got time for two more?
When Tyler went down with the ankle injury in camp, did you see him getting to this point in the season? Did you expect something a little bit earlier, or is he sort of right on track with how you projected him this summer?
I think he's on track. I think he's healthy, and I think he's back from the injury. When a guy gets injured, we certainly have projections with our medical staff in terms of how long it'll take him to get back, but I don't try to predetermine those things, because until you see the player go out on the field and show you he can do it, all the tests may be telling you he's healthy, but he might not be healthy enough to play football. Ultimately, he's got to be healthy enough to play football and do his job, and that's different for every position. So, I think Tyler's back. He's 100%, and we feel good about where he is.
What's the situation at kicker?
That's a great question.
I don't have too many of those. So enjoy it.
That's a great
Enjoy it.
question. Our kicking job is not settled just yet this week. I think there's a possibility that we could see Nick Marsh do some kicking. We tried him today at field goal. I think ultimately, we've got Kyle, we've got Nick, and Nick Borghese and Nick Marsh. So Nick Marsh will not be our full-time kicker, but I think there could be a scenario in the game where we would bring him out to kick one.